Okay, so in case if you close out of the browser or whatever, right? So how do you access JIRA software, right? So this is where you need to go. So if you type in JIRA Altacian login, or you can just bookmark the site here. So this is the login for JIRA software. So let me just log in with my account now. Okay, from this page, I can do access JIRA site. Okay, this is where we will go. And if you are already logged in, then you should end up on this type of homepage. Okay, this is the JIRA homepage here. And from there, you will see your project here, right? At the bottom on the homepage, there are user stories and other things that you will see that as well. But let me go and access the project because that's what I'm interested in. And this is where I think most of you are right now. Okay. So again, JIRA is used for Agile projects. So just like Azure DevOps, and since it's a different software, it has a different look and feel. Okay, different look and feel meaning different navigation. You need to get familiar with it, and how do you do your activities and so forth. So generally, there are a few things here I will show you quickly. So the backlog. This is where all your user stories will be in the backlog. Okay. So right now I have created all the stories for you. So you don't need to create any new story. But if you want to practice or play around, feel free to create a new story that you will think. But generally you have backlog, right? And the sprint backlog. So you have product backlog and sprint backlog in the Agile. Okay. So all the backlog items at the bottom, which is nothing but a product backlog. So all the running list of stories right now. Okay. Now at the top, you will see here, there is a sprint backlog. So there are 3 stories right now I have pulled into the current sprint. Okay. So these 3 stories I am working through basically as part of our current sprint, which is 20th February to March 11th. So right now I have set up 3 weeks sprint for you guys. Okay. So that's how you can have the stories and the backlogs. Let me just quickly show you how do you create stories, right? So I'll go to the roadmap, right? And here I have epic, okay? And the epics are nothing but a grouping of all the user stories. Okay. So like I have created epics as manage users, manage lenders. They are kind of like a module, right? Think it of as your modules. And as part of your modules, you have different user stories or requirements. So I have put some, whatever you guys have got for you had it for the homework. I have listed most of them, but if you don't see any, and if you want to create something, go ahead and add a new story. Now, how do you add a story? So I have a manage users, right? I'm just bringing my mouse over there, and there is a clicking on the plus, right? It just says create a story right here. Okay, so you can just type it in whatever in it. Okay, but generally the stories are created by business analysts, so you guys wouldn't be doing much work on the stories. So now you guys are working on the same project. Okay, so if you create a duplicate story, so if you create the same story that I already created, you guys will get confused, or somebody else is creating, you don't know where to go and create your test cases. So try to avoid creating the duplicate story. Maybe pick some other requirement from the RFlow document and add that here. Okay.
Can we add our name to the stories?
Yeah, I think that would be easier if you just add. So if you want to create a story here, right? Ability to search lender by lender name. You can create it, but put your name in the front. Okay. So here, ability, now you can say ability to search lender by lender name. so that you know, okay, this is your story and your test cases are tied to that story. Okay. But in the real life, right, they will divide up the work for you. So even though you are working on the same project, same JIRA, they will say, oh, 5 stories, you take it, you are responsible as a QA. 5 stories, other person can take it and work through that. Okay. All right, so that's the first part, epic and the stories. Okay, so that hopefully you guys know where to go. So you can access stories from here, from the dashboard, or you can access from the backlog. Okay, backlog is just the stories, but from the roadmap or dashboard, you can see the epic and then stories tied to it. Any question on first part?
So stories
Yes.
is requirement.
Stories are same thing, requirement. In Azure DevOps, right? You created user stories as well on the board. Same thing. You are creating the stories
And
here.
then inside that we create test cases.
Yeah, that's where you will associate your test cases after that. Go ahead. Somebody had a question online?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So Harshal, you said you are dividing us into 2 groups. So are we supposed to share our this URL to other members?
No. This one, you six folks. Let me just tell you who. Actually,
Yes. So we need to add the people here in the next to that epic bar.
No. You guys already, 6 people are already in the same project. So they will see what you have done. If you are adding a new story, somebody else can take a look at it. You don't need to share anything. Okay. You all are working on the same project. In our flow, everybody had a different project created in your own account. Here, you have one project, 6 people are on the same project. So all the online. Yeah, you all are on the same project. Okay.
Yes. So, okay, then Nilima, you just wrote that thing. She must be in a different project because I'm trying to see her name in my page too.
That is correct.
Yes,
So
I got you.
you are in different projects, 6 for
Yeah.
you are, right.
Thank you.
And that's because of the limitation of the accounts.
Yes.
Okay. All right, but I have access to both, so I will be able to see both whatever you guys are writing. I will be able to access both. Okay, so let's go back here to the story here. So now, just like Azure DevOps, right? You can certainly click on a link here, and it will open up more details around that story. And generally, stories will have more details, right? You can have screenshots, screen mockups, everything. Whatever business analyst creates, it can be part of your story as well. Okay. Now, important part is test cases, right? That's your important part, right? So for JIRA, what we have is a Sapphire Scale. This is the test management plugin. So generally in the JIRA, there are several plugins available, and depending on the company, they will have license for Sapphire or maybe Test Suite or something else. Okay, but you don't have to worry about it. Whatever tool they purchased, you will have access to write your test cases. So let me just quickly show you a simple way. How do we create your test cases, right? So I'm working on calculator, right? Loan calculator. And here, if you scroll down here, let's see if I can find mine. Okay. All right, so I should be able to create my test case right from here. Okay. Let me just make sure the tool is configured properly. Okay. So I need to enable it for the project. I already enabled for the other one, so you guys will be okay for the second one.
Can we add test case?
Yes, I'll show you how do you add the test case and so forth. Okay, so I just enable that particular plugin for our project. So now we should be good. So I'll go back to the backlog here. And I'll open that particular requirement. We do one more thing, start sprint. You guys don't have to do that because the sprint will already be started. Okay. By the way, as I said, right, there is a board here, right? So you can view from the board all the stories for the current sprint. So board will have 3 stories here, right? But when I go to the backlog, I will see 3 stories at the top, which is part of my current sprint. And then I will have all the product backlog items. Okay. But let me go back to the board view. And here, same way, just like Azure DevOps, I can click on this. Okay. Now, as I said, these tools are different, right? So it works a little bit differently. On the Azure DevOps, there was a 3 thing here, and I can create the story from here, right? But in this tool, I cannot add the test from here. So I need to go to the actual details of the story. Okay, so I'll open that up, and then there is a create new test case right there. Okay, so in the story, I have create new test case. And that's where it will go and open up a new window. Again, I'll be on this window, create new test case. And again, it has different things, different fields here. So let me populate. Let me tell you what goes in where. Okay. So generally the name would be your test title, whatever test case you are executing. Then you have the objective, which is more of a test summary. What is the objective of this test? Okay, so that would be your test summary. And the precondition. Now you guys see the precondition here. So in Azure DevOps, you did not have precondition, right? Separately, but this tool has a separate section or field for precondition. So you can fill that up here. So let me quickly show you for the load calculator, right? Applying valid loan amount. Okay, so here I'm kind of putting my test case here. An objective, you can copy the same thing. Okay, calculation used. %3 of loan amount. Okay, that is my objective. Okay, and if you wrote down on piece of paper, right, this particular test case, you know what your precondition is, right? Dealer as G training exists in the system. That's all my precondition is, because I'm going to use specific dealer account. Okay. No, just like other one, right? Who is the owner? Right now it's unassigned, but I can assign to other users as well. What's the priority? What is the status? It's a draft. You are working through it. You have approved, means somebody else has reviewed it and all those things. Okay. So just play around when you get a chance. But for now, let's go to the where do we write our test steps, right? And so forth. So that's where you will go to the test script section here. And all the steps will go in the test scripts section. Okay, the second tab. So this is the first tab, this is the second tab. And here I'll start writing access rflow. Again, it looks a little bit different, right? But you have a test data separately. So you can add actually URL here, whatever right? And what is your expected result, right? Expected result same is same. Okay. Now, how do you add a step? Okay, it doesn't automatically create a step here. So you need, there is a add a step right there. Okay, so that's where you can add a step. So you have to do that manually. In the Azure DevOps, it was automatically creating the next step as soon as you hit enter, something like that. Okay, so access RFlow, access loan calculator module, access loan calculator. There is no test data for that. An expected result, I am on loan calculator page. Okay, again, I will click on add step. And then what is your next step? Logical step would be enter loan amount as $1,000 and click calculate. Okay, again, you can put the loan amount in test data, or you can put it right in the step, which is okay. Now here, expected result, you also have expected result. I shall see $30 as my loan, monthly loan amount. Okay. All right, so at this point, my test case is pretty much done, right? I have preconditioned test scripts. Again, the tool does not have post condition. Okay, so what you can do is you can just like other one, you can add a post condition here if you have any as a part of your steps, and you will be fine. Okay, but at this point, I'm going to save it. Save my test case. Okay. Now, if I go back to the story, let me go back to the story now. And if I click on it, details, I should be able to see the test case here. Okay, it says no test cases. Let's see why I did not associate the test case. Or maybe it's just a matter of refreshing it.
Yeah.
All right, let me refresh. See if it shows up.
Did it say?
I think I saved it.
It's showing for me.
Okay, if it didn't link it, right? I can link existing test case. Okay, add existing test case. See if I can link it. So it pops up another window here, right? And I'll just say add. Okay, so it will show up right there. Okay, so now it's associated with my test user story, and basically work through that. Okay, so it's a little bit different steps, right? But essentially it's the same work you guys are doing. Okay, now let's say if you need to execute. Okay, once it's ready, it's approved, whatever, you got the software, you need to come back to the story and start executing one by one. So there are a couple of ways you can do it from this tool. Okay, so I'll show you the simple way first. So here you come back to the story and you can just say start new test execution right here. Okay, so there is a button here, arrow, just click on it simply. And it will say assign to whoever is doing it. And environment, again, if you have environment set up like a system test or user acceptance test and so forth, you will be able to select the environment where you are executing your test case. That's all it says. Okay, but right now we don't have any environment set up. And then I'll just click on start. And it says, so it will bring me to the test case, right? Execution cycle, okay, execution mode. And here, I have not executed, that shows up as a status, but I can click on this start to just to record the time, how much time it takes and so forth, okay? But at the bottom, if I come down, scroll down, I will see again all the steps. What is my test data? What is my expected result? Okay. Again, for every step, you will have that. I think most of the QAs, if you capture this, right? So it tells your manager when they are running the reports, how much time it took you and all those things for this type of test cases. In the Azure DevOps, it's automatic. So if you just go click, yes, 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 all step pass, and it takes you like 5 seconds. Your boss will know, okay, because they can run the reports, pull the reports. And they will say, oh, how come it takes you 4 seconds to execute a test case? Which is, a lot of QAs do that, okay? And they get in trouble as well. But anyway, here it's a little bit manual process, okay? So it's in progress, and then you can start capturing the, following your own steps, okay? So if I'm a testing, right, it's execution mode. So I'll follow my own instruction, go to the whatever site. And if I am on the home page, yep, that's my first step, right? So I'm following my own instruction and I'm going to pass it. Okay, so it says pass. Now I'm entering S training, actually G training and training. Okay. Now here, see one thing I missed is a step, right? The login step. So I need to go back and correct my test case. Okay, but just for sake of time here, I'm just going to assume that this one is correct step and I passed it. So it is fine. Now click on calculator. Okay, so I'm access loan calculator. So it's fine because I am on the loan calculator page. Now my third step is enter loan amount and click calculate. Okay, so I'm just repeat the step, whatever is in the instruction, and click calculate, and I see $30. Again, I can pass this as well, right? Now every step I should have captured the actual result for this, okay? Because it's important. Somebody is looking at your execution. They will see if you are executing properly or not. For every step, I should have captured result here. Okay. I should have inputted actual result.
So if we are saying the expected result is pass, that means the actual result is the expected result, right?
Yeah, so you need to match, right? Then only you can say pass. If you see anything different, that means you fail the step right there. Your test case is failing.
That's the reason we pass. So do we have to write it again? That this is the.
Yes, because it goes in your past of your, it becomes a history of your execution, basically. And if you, let's say today is passing, but tomorrow somebody complains it fails, then you can go back and check your test case. Hey, it was passing, why it failed again, and so forth. So it's you always capture the actual result here. And that's for your own because if your boss comes and say why it's failing, and you say, oh, I passed it, but then you did not capture the actual result at that point, there might be some issue at that point. Okay. And just like other tool, right? You can have a snipping tool and you can take a screenshot of this thing. The final step, you should want to take a screenshot, okay? Always. And this one will tell what is the actual. So it will help you from that standpoint. I think this one you can just put the whole screenshot. Okay, so that becomes part of your history, and you can pass it from that standpoint.
So Harshal, I have a question here.
Yes, go ahead.
You missed that test case step, the login step, right? So
Yes.
at that time, if we miss it and we need to go back and correct our step test step of the case, then do we need to pause the clock, or clock supposed to run keep running?
No, you just basically say not executed, change it to not executed.
Oh.
Okay. You go back to your test case here, and add a step in there, and then come back and execute again.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so here I come back to my test scripts. And here I will click on add a step, so it will add next to it. Log in as dealer, okay, dealer user. And as G training and training. And here I am on dealer homepage. Okay, so now I just finished my missing step. And let me just delete the last one, which is not needed. Okay, and I come back to the execution from there. Actually, I can't execute from here. I will go back to my requirement again. So that's the kind of like a little bit different navigation and so forth. But again, work-wise, it's just it. So now I'll go back, start execution again. Okay, again, I'll start the progress, pass, 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 and pass. Okay, because it's executing. Now, if you have to fail it, right? So you guys know what to do. You have to create a defect from there. So in this tool, right? Assume this last step, I see $40 as a result or monthly loan amount. Okay, so let's say instead of 30, it's giving you $40. So you're supposed to fail it, right? So obviously you fail with this one. This one is a fail step. And then you come back again. This is a status of you already marked it fail here, but you can manually override it. But the way you can create a defect is the last icon. Okay, this last symbol. This is where you can say create an issue, okay, and it will pop up this dialog. Now issue type, you want to make sure you select as a bug. Okay, issue type needs to be a bug. Okay, otherwise it will create a user story and so forth. You don't want to create a user story when something fails. You want to create a bug. Monthly loan amount is incorrect, right? And again, in the description, you can put more description and so forth. There is a way to attach the screen as well. Okay, so you can attach those screens and so forth. And then finally, you can say create. Okay, so at this point, your test case is done. It's marked fail. And it took roughly about 41 seconds to complete. Okay. So you can go back to let's see, where would you see your defect, right? You created a defect, but where does it go? So you go to the backlog, right? And this is where everything will be. All the running stories, and you will see your defect at the bottom, wherever it's added. Now you think the developers are working through it, right? Want to work through the current sprint. So what you can do is this thing, you pick the defect and go to the current sprint and pull that in. Okay. So you have this defect. If I go to the board, I will see the defect as well, which is listed, and developer can start working through it in progress and be done and so forth. This part does not change much from the Azure DevOps, but just where you go and create your defects and so forth. Okay. Any question on this tool or process here?
Yes, one question.
Okay.
So the test data column is in the test case scripting. Is it very similar to the attachment in Azure DevOps?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Here they have a different column to put generally in Azure DevOps, right? You are putting your test data. If it's a URL, right? You can put right in the step description. Enter this URL or access this URL, whatever.
Yes.
Or
yes.
you can put it as an attachment as well.
Yes, so we can attach a Word or a Excel, any other
But again, it's a test data,
format. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Harshal, did we have actual result tab in that Azure DevOps?
Actual result tab.
Actual result, like expected result and actual result? We
Yes,
are
yes. Yep.
while
So
executing.
let me just open up that again quickly, my test case.
This is here in JIRA.
She's asking if it was available in Azure DevOps.
Oh, Azure DevOps, Azure
That is
DevOps,
available.
yeah, you can enter actual result only for the failed step. So it will ask you for the comment, right? When you fail it in Azure DevOps. That's where you enter more details, why you failed it, what's you are, and you can describe the actual result that you are saying.
But here actually is coming that tab, but I don't think it was there in that Azure DevOps.
No, it's not there. Yeah, in Azure DevOps, it's not there.
Okay, thank you.
And when you guys get a little bit hands-on, right? Make sure you compare those. If you want to open side by side, both Azure DevOps and JIRA, you can do that. Because you can copy the steps from there to here, make sure you are entering the test cases and so forth. Okay. Okay, any other question? Let me show you one more thing here. Which Azure DevOps has it, but it requires further license in Azure DevOps. Okay, but here you can have it without the license. So if you go to the Sapphire Scale, right, this test management tool within JIRA. So I'm just clicking on it. So it will show you all your test cases right here. Okay. So if I have, right now I have only one test case created for all my requirements. But if once you guys start adding it, you will see it, all the test cases. Okay. Now remember the test cycles we talked about. You can have all you want to execute certain requirements and the test cases basically in particular test cycles. So in this tool, you have test plan and test cycles and some reporting capability. Okay. Generally, the cycles you want to create when you are executing. So I'm clicking on that. It's probably taking time to pull up. Okay. So what the cycle means is I can create the multiple test cycles. Okay. So I can have a test cycle 1. Let me just do first thing, test cycle 1. Okay. And save it. Then I can do, let's go back. To save it. Okay, so I have created 2 test cycles. Now, as part of the cycle 1, I want to execute and test out certain functionality as part of my cycle 1. So what I can do is, I can have all the test cases pulled in to this particular my test cycle. Okay, so let's come back here. The test cycles. Okay, give me a second. Okay. All right, so it looks like I should have created cycle 3. Okay, so whatever test cases you want to execute, you have to attach with the cycle 1. So if you want to attach, let's say I have 50 test cases and I'm executing 10 test cases as part of my cycle 1, then I can select all those 10 test cases and start executing one by one, basically. Okay, so it's just a logical grouping of your execution portion. So I can say click add, and it will become part of my test cycle 1. Okay, so let me go ahead and save it. And if I go back here, test cycle 3. Clearing the filter, yeah, right? So I can see all my test cases. I can execute one by one, and then once it's complete, then I can say, yep, whatever I plan to execute, I completed everything. Okay, so this functionality is a little bit, but this is a helpful functionality. Okay, for your organizing the execution of your test cases. Okay. And since we have only one, we don't have anything else populated. But I think once you create, you can create your own test cycle. Just put your name around this test cycle and so forth.
So is there a pass or fail for the test cycle?
No, not pass or fail for the test cycle, but you can, okay, how many are failed within the test cycle, and then you can pull up in the reports, basically. So that's where the reporting comes in the picture, right? Again, it's a little bit configuration and so forth, but let me see if these are some built-in reports, right? So let me see if I can execute the reports. But these are some of the helpful management reports. So people can see, okay, you have one test case, how many are executed, how many are not executed, and you can report on the testing progress and so forth. So DevOps didn't have this capability built in. Here it's already there. So once you have few test cases, you can see the progress here. Kind of like a product report, right? Or metrics, some metrics we were talking about earlier. So this is some type of progress report. Okay, you can run it and play around with it. Okay. All right, any question on this JIRA? It's no brainer, right? I mean, if you know the DevOps, you should be able to quickly, get up to speed on this one. Okay. Tools are tool. Again, I want to emphasize that, right? Main work is how do you come up with the test cases and so forth. This is just a documentation part and so forth. Okay, so if you guys don't have any question, I'll let you work through whatever test cases that you want to work through. That's the goal for today. Work through the JIRA, and if you have any issue, let me know, and I'll show you. Okay, but I have at least 2 or 3 test cases. Let's plan for that today, and play around with the tool.
So where do we see our teammates?
If you go to the people, let me see, search your people and teams. Yep, there you go. So this one I have put a few folks here, right? So let me see who did not sign up.
The thing is, you don't have to worry about who is in your team because you're still
Yeah.
doing your individual work.
Okay.
Just define your, like its story, and then add a test case to it, just kind of tag it with your name so that you can easily for you to find it.
So Deepal, I don't see you here in the project, but hopefully you signed up as well.
I signed up, but I don't know. I cannot see anybody on my project too.
Rehearsal, because you are the admin on that.
Oh, maybe I'm the admin. That's the one I can
I
see.
would not worry about it
Yeah,
if you're not able to see it.
yep. As long as you are seeing the same board with the requirements, I think you are good, Deepal.
Yes. So
Okay.
I have a question. This is not related to any of this right now, but when we are actually working on JIRA and working with a different other team members, then is this our privacy issue? Should we just keep it to ourselves, or when can we use the share button or export button?
Okay, so in real life, when you get to do it,
You come a little bit closer there.
in real life, when you're working on a JIRA board as a team, there is nothing called my private stuff or pro. It's the teamwork, and then you just drag it and says, I'm gonna work on this story. And then a lot of times, you can break it down, even the story, into multiple tasks, and then each of the team member can take a task.
Yep.
So think of this as a collaboration tool. It's not about you or that. It's about the project, where the project status is. There's nothing called, hey, I'm writing a test case. There is constantly, I work in JIRA probably like 3 to 4 hours a day, but constantly across 3 different boards that I have it. And it's constant collaboration. That's what it is. When you're doing a testing in an agile world, the developer will be writing the code and pushing it through the Bitbucket. And then you will be executing the test case as soon as you write it. Like you'll be writing a test case in the morning and executing here and then an hour or so to work through that entire functionality and then move that ticket to the close one. Okay, so there's here for your learning purposes, you are creating your own requirements and all. In real world, you will have only one requirement, and you may have 2 or 3 different testing members writing the test against it. Okay, so think of it like and it's the same whether you're doing an Azure DevOps or JIRA. It's your collaboration tool. And when you look at it, right? So like it's Herschel added 6 of you to the, when you go into the project, it's the same board. It's everybody sees exact same thing. And then there is a sprint, which is essentially, this is the 2-week cycle in which we are working through it. And when you click on it, right, you can see it, which users are working on it. Right? So based on your ID, you can just see it.
Yeah.
So Herschel, if you can open any one of the tasks, it'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just go into that, right? So it'll tell you assignee. Right now you haven't assigned it, right? But you can work in that. There's a reporter is Herschel logged in as IntelliX QA Feb 2022, right?
Yeah.
So you can assign the work, or you can just drag in and say, hey, I'm going to work on this one. So it's more collaborative, but you will have always who is working on as a assignee as well as who all has been participating. See, right now there's a reporter, in other words, who
Right.
created it and who is working on it. And typically, like it's the good practices when you start working on it. And if you haven't communicated with any of your team members, then you just go and drag it and just say, assign it to me, so that then they know now it's been worked to.
Okay, so you guys know what to do, right? Okay, so let's work through that. And let me know if you guys have any question.